The Wiregrass Museum of Art created the Intergenerational Learning Project to give students like me the opportunity to learn from those in other generations. All of the people interviewed have one thing in common. They have risen above hardships and now have an informed and wise outlook on the past and our future. With each interview, we were presented with an opportunity to learn more about our world, our culture, and our local history. Now we present our conversations with you.
My name is Frank Flowers, Sergeant First Class, retired United States Army, 82nd Airborne Division, 3rd Special Forces Group, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Born and raised here in Dothan, Alabama. I'm here to share my experiences with the younger generation and see if we can get some things turned around. So I'm glad to be here.
What motivated you to join the military?
Well, it was a couple of things. Staying out of trouble. My grandmother had foresight. When I went to college and played football for a couple of years, got injured, didn't want to go to school anymore. Everything had to push me. Wound up coming back to Dothan. My grandmother saw me. She says, "You're too talented to be here," because she saw, that there was going to be trouble in these streets if I stayed here. So that was motivation. My second motivation was I've always been a go-getter, no matter what. I've always pushed myself to be the best, and I felt it from the day I was born, literally, that you can be good. And it's evident in my family. You go down my family tree, and everybody's good. So I have a standard to uphold in this family. Those are my two motivations. Yeah.
So when you made the decision to go into the military, what did your family think?
Everybody was all in. They were all in. Even though with the rest, I really didn't know what I was getting into when I joined the military. All I knew I was going to join the military. I wound up becoming an infantryman. 11 Bravo, to start the ground pounders, they call us, from Vietnam to World War I to Panama. I've been in 3 conflicts myself, so I was literally on the ground, bullets flying. I can't get into the gory stories, and I don't want to, gross you out, but it gets pretty crazy in a government sanctioned environment where, it's either them or us. It's fight or flight, and you may feel that at some point in your life, you may not.
So what was your upbringing like?
Um, it wasn't the all-American family, per se. My father was a Vietnam veteran, too, so just his aura and his power and, it was complete control in my house, He was like the Great Santini. If you ever see the movie Great Santini, he was that guy. He was, get up at 3 o'clock, let's go rake grass or watch walls or go pick fruit in the backyard. It was always him he wanted to push us because he knew his kids could be pushed also. And I came from that same tree, so. But he drank a lot. And it was for a number of reasons. I'm gonna be honest with you on camera here. Partly because my mother died in a car accident when I was really young. I was in that car. Me, my sister, and my brother, there were 3 of us. She was coming from Tuscaloosa back here to Dothan to bring us here. Car flip, she died, we all survived. So that's another reason I know that there's somebody looking out for me somewhere. So why not be what you can be, push it forward, and see if you can change and impact the world. And that's what I focus my life on. My wife can tell you that. Anyone who knows me, they know that. So it's very important to me. But because I grew up here, I used to work in the watermelon fields here in the hot summers, throwing watermelons down the line all day for $20. So I was a pretty tough boy. Plus I played football here. I was on the 85 state championship team here at Northview. Go Cougars. A lot of people know me here. They know that I'm a go-getter. I've always been that way. I've played all the sports. I'm not bragging on myself. I'm not blowing my own horn, but when you want to achieve, there are no limits. It's only what stops us in our brains. But getting back to my upbringing, my father drank a lot because of experiences he had in Vietnam, losing my mom. So it was really hard on us because when he was falling apart, we didn't know how to put him back together. And when I didn't realize what was going on in front of me, none of us did. But that was another reason I pushed myself onto the military, because I needed something in my life. I needed structure, I needed that. So we all need structure,
Where'd you train at?
My basic training was at Fort Benning, Georgia. Plus my AIT, my advanced infantry training was at Fort Benning, Georgia. I went to jump school right after that. I went to Ranger School after that. When I graduated Ranger School, or got through all the phases of Ranger School, my first duty station was Fort Bragg, North Carolina, 82nd Airborne Division, 3rd Battalion, 504th Parachute Infantry Regiment.
Times when you would come home, or if you came home, what were you most proud to do? Eat or spend time with your family?
Eat. My grandmother would tell me, slow down, son. I would just be head down just like this, because in basic training, you only get like a few minutes to eat. I mean, they march you down to the chow hall in basic training. This is the phase where they're just beating you. They're beating you up physically and mentally to see how good you can be. March you down to the mess hall. And if anyone says anything wrong, they'd all hit the tables. Everything flipped up out of my chow hall. So there were days we didn't get to eat in the infantry unit because someone was talking they weren't supposed to. But it was fun. I look back on those days and I knew why they were doing that now. Because one screw up, everybody gets punished. And that was yeah. It's quite funny back in those days. Basic training, yeah.
And so what was your job after training?
After training, I was a paratrooper. I used to jump out of airplanes. And anyone who's airborne, you know, they call us the 82nd Airborne. We used to wear red berets. That was quite the experience, because somebody asked me one time, why would you jump out of a perfectly good airplane, you know? Why in the hell would you do that? But it was fun to me, it was exhilarating. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but the more I did it, the more I wanted. It's almost like I was challenging myself and pushing myself to be something other. My body paid for it, but I had a really good time. I got to travel the world. I got to meet some good men. I actually have a gag order on me until 2025, being debriefed from my job I had. So I can't really tell you what I did, but I can't talk about anything, my military experiences, and the deep military experience until 2025.
And so where did you serve?
Where did I serve? My first combat experience was in 1989, and it involved Mr. Manuel Noriega. It was Operation Just Cause. I was with the 82nd Airborne Division. So we jumped in, a lot of bullets flying, a lot of bodies flying. The goal was to remove Mr. Noriega from government. I actually got shot in Pound. I was injured. That's where my first Purple Heart came from. So that was quite the experience of a man being raised here in Delta. You know, there was no bullets flying. You don't get to see bullets flying in the city every day. So when you take yourself and put a guy in that position, you're gung ho, you're doing your thing, but you pay for it later. And that's what I would talk to veterans about all the time. And that's my mission right now, is to push veterans who are not taking advantage of their benefits, their health benefits, to take advantage of them, because you can be in that situation and you're serving it and you're serving and you're serving, but when it's time to, like Forrest Gump, well, you can't play pinball here anymore, you can't play for the Army anymore, but you can play at home. It's time to get back out there in the world, and you have to be able to transition back into the world. I mean, you're in the real world, but this is the real world when you come back here, because the responsibilities you to have housing for your family, have jobs, take care of yourself, at the same time try to be great, So that's what it's all about.
People you served with that you're still in contact with?
Actually, a lot of friends from 82nd Airborne Division. I have some friends that live down in the Dominican Republic. I talked to some friends in Dallas. We have stories to tell, and it's always, fun to tell stories. But it also brings back those bad memories that you don't want to think about. I've had many sleepless nights where I couldn't sleep. Thinking about everything that went on. And it's not easy for your brain to put all that in perspective and put it away for you. You have to do that yourself through intense therapy, few drugs. I tell people it's 90% talking about it, being in groups and talking about it, 10% drugs. So that was my motto, and that's what I used, because the drugs they were giving me at first, they would give me 13 drugs at a time, for PTSD. I felt like a zombie, like I couldn't even tie my own shoe. I didn't want to feel that way. So I got myself better, because I know at some point in my life, if I wanted to have a good life, get married again, have a good relationship, strong relationship, I need to take care of those issues first. And that's how people have to think. They come out of something bad, whether it's a car accident, things change our lives, don't get me wrong, but we have to be strong and true to ourselves, And the military has given me that strength, it's given me that regimen. And my wife can tell you, I don't like to lose. I'm dressed right dress. I'm not the best sock folder or the best bed maker, but I try to keep my life straight and keep things in order, because you don't have any chaos when there's order. So.
And so, any advice you would have for those who don't know how to get the right help that they need just when coming out of serving? Well,
it depends on where you live. There's always the crisis hotline, the 1-800 crisis hotline. A lot of people don't like to pick up the phone and say, "Oh, I'm in trouble. They don't like that. Matter of fact, there's a stigma attached to it. They don't want that attention. They will sneak in the back door and go talk to the doctor, and when they get to put the shades on, they sneak on out, because people at home are probably, you're crazy. You go to see the shrink and you're crazy. No, we need to, as a country, we need to have a campaign where we take that stigma and take it off and snap it and throw it away and say, look, if you got problems, come see us. There is no reason that you shouldn't have to come see us, especially if you're trying to make this society better than what it is. Because the way things are going right now, we need some changes. We really need some changes. And I don't think there's enough resources put on soldiers, we all have access to it, don't get me wrong, but either they live in rural areas where they have to drive 180 miles to get it, or there's no one pushing them to go get it,
And so how can the families help who don't know how to navigate around the situation?
Well, we get this thing called the internet. It's been around for about 20 years now. There's a lot of resource, and all you gotta do is have a phone. You have a phone, right? I have a phone. Everyone has a phone, and you have the resources. You have the access there. You just dial the numbers. Go get yourself in the support groups. That's where it all starts, because you got people the same as you talking about the same things. Especially if you got 6 combat veterans who are missing limbs or just been through all hell, and they get to sit down and work it out and talk and get it all out, because it bottles up inside. You have to get it out, and talking is the best thing. So.
How does your military experience impact your life today?
In a lot of ways, because it keeps me structured, first of all, and I got that structure in the military. It keeps me mission-oriented, if you've ever heard that word. I'm all about the mission at all costs. That's why it was very hard for me when I transitioned back over to the civilian world to work with civilians. I didn't really look down on them, but they didn't have the same drive and determination I had, and it would frustrate me. I've been in countries where kids haven't eaten for 2 weeks and their stomachs are about to pop. And then there's a guy talking about, who stole my taco, or, where's my, I'm hungry. You're not hungry. You just want something to eat, because that's what you're a human being, we like to eat. But it was really hard for me to transition back. And it took me a long time to get over that too, because I had to accept, hey, everybody's not mission oriented. Everybody hadn't served in the military. Because when you come out, you have a feeling of responsibility, togetherness, hard work, not running the streets and not doing anything you're not supposed to, but you're actually making a difference. So the military has given me that. It's also given me an appreciation for life too, because when you take life, it makes you appreciate life more. Even if it's sanctioned by your government, you're responsible for someone's mom, nephew, dad who doesn't have a son now. You're responsible. You can forget about it, wipe it out of your brain and never think about it. That's impossible if you have a conscience. So that's what I've had to deal with. But the military it gives me my life today, actually. I gave them my life, and they're giving me my life. Traded time for whatever. So quite the journey, though. Quite the journey. Quite the journey. I wouldn't take it away from the world. Wouldn't change anything. Like I said, the only thing I probably would change is my body has been broken down. At some point, jumping so long, I didn't know I had torn MCLs and ACLs, until I actually went to get my knee replaced. The doctor looked at the x-ray and said, you have a torn MCL? Or, I was wondering what the pain was all these years, but in the military, they teach you, and especially in the infantry, there's no sick call. You got to keep pushing. So that gives me my drive today, to keep pushing. And my wife will tell me, you need to slow down, you need to do this, or you need to do it this way. That's just sweetie. That's the only gear I know, and it's about life. Eventually my star is going to burn out just like everybody else's star. But while I'm here, I want to encourage people. I want to set the example. Push yourself. You'll never know how great you can be until you push yourself. And that's what the military gave me. In closing, I would just say to young people, no matter what your economic situation is, no matter where you live, no matter what you have going on in your life, whether your parents drink, whatever it is going on in your life, always know that you can transcend that. You can. And all you have to do is want to. You can make the excuses you want. You can blame everyone but yourself. But in the end, it's you that's going to mature one day and realize I did myself a disservice. I knew I had the potential to do it, and I didn't do it. So I have nothing to pass on to my grandchildren or my children, because I didn't take the time to realize that, hey, all you gotta do is reach out to someone. Reach out and help someone just one time. That's all you have to do. It changes lives. It's like the ripple. One drop, and there's 100 ripples. And it's that simple. And if you apply that in your everyday life, you'll find yourself helping people more. You give back, and it's what you do when no one's looking that counts. If you're doing things for attention, if you need a pat on the back, you're not doing it for the right reasons. You really aren't. So, to all young people, just weather the storm, because there's a storm coming. You're in it right now, actually. Stay positive. Reach out to your family. Whether you're black, white, green, orange, doesn't matter what race you're from. Learn to be tolerant of others. Learn to be tolerant of others' religion, their cultures, and get to know each other, because we're in this together.
After watching this film, we hope you have learned more about your history and choose to become an ally to your neighbor in the future.